Picture this. It's a random Tuesday afternoon. Two guys, Marcus and Derek, walk into the same office on the same day, shake hands with the same boss, and sign the exact same contract. Same job, same title, same paycheck to the penny, $75,000 a year. Fast forward 15 years. Marcus owns his home outright, has over $500,000 in investments, takes his family on 2 vacations a year, and honestly hasn't lost sleep over money in over a decade. Derek is still renting. He's got $12,000 in credit card debt, maybe $2,000 in a savings account, and he's 1 car repair away from a full-blown panic attack. Same job, same pay, same years, completely different lives. And here's the thing. This isn't a made-up story. This happens constantly. If you lined up 1,000 people all making $75,000 a year, you'd find some of them quietly building real wealth and others drowning in debt. And once you understand why, I promise you, you'll never look at your own paycheck the same way again. My name is James, and I spend way too much time thinking about the mechanics of how regular people actually build wealth. If you're someone who's tired of feeling like your paycheck just disappears the second it hits your account, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, there's this assumption we all grow up with. It goes something like this. The more money you make, the richer you'll be. Simple, right? It feels obvious, and it's also almost completely wrong. Here's what most people don't realize. Income and wealth are 2 completely different things. Income is what shows up in your bank account every 2 weeks. Wealth is what's still there 5, 10, 15 years later. And the bridge between those 2 numbers is not your salary, it's your behavior. According to a study from Ramsey Solutions that surveyed over 10,000 millionaires, the vast majority of them, we're talking 80% or more, built their wealth on ordinary salaries. Teachers, engineers, accountants, regular jobs, regular paychecks. Meanwhile, data from the Federal Reserve shows that roughly 1 in 3 Americans earning over $150,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck. Let that sink in for a second. People pulling 6 figures, still broke, every single month. So what is actually going on here? Let me explain it like this. Imagine your income is a river flowing into a reservoir. That reservoir is your wealth. Now, most people think the only way to grow the reservoir is to make the river wider, earn more money. And sure, that helps. But there is a second thing happening that almost nobody talks about. There is a drain at the bottom of the reservoir, and for most people, that drain is cranked wide open.
That drain is your lifestyle. This is where it gets really interesting. There's a concept in personal finance sometimes called lifestyle inflation, but I like to call it the income trap. Here's how it works. You get a raise. You celebrate. Then, almost without noticing, your grocery bill goes up. You trade in your reliable 5-year-old car for a shiny new lease. You start eating out 3 times a week instead of 1. You upgrade your apartment, you add a couple more streaming services, and by the time the dust settles, your lifestyle has expanded to eat up every single extra dollar you just earned. Economists have an old saying, expenses rise to meet income. It's called Parkinson's Law applied to money, and it is the single biggest reason people stay broke no matter how much they make. Now let's go back to Marcus and Derek. 15 years ago, they were both making $75,000. Derek did what most people do. He looked at his paycheck, mentally subtracted his rent and bills, and figured whatever was left was fun money. He financed a $35,000 car because, quote, he could afford the payment. He moved into a nicer apartment that cost $400 more a month than his last one. He put a couple of vacations on his credit card because, he'd pay it off with his bonus. Except the bonus always got spent before it arrived. Marcus did something different. When Marcus got his first paycheck, he set up an automatic transfer. The day his paycheck hit, 15% went straight into a separate account before he even saw it. That account was invested in a low-cost index fund. He kept driving his old Honda Civic for 8 more years. He lived with a roommate for 3 years to keep his rent cheap. He cooked most of his own meals. Here's the part that will mess with your head. Marcus didn't feel deprived. In fact, he'd tell you his life was great because he wasn't comparing himself to his coworkers' new cars or his friends' Instagram vacations. He was comparing his future self to his present self, and he was winning. Over 15 years, Marcus put away roughly $11,000 a year into that index fund. With an average market return of around 8%, that grew to just over $300,000. Add in his home equity, his emergency fund, and a couple of smaller investments, and he crossed $500,000 in net worth on $75,000 a year. Derek saved almost nothing, and the little he did save kept getting wiped out by emergencies, because when you have no buffer, everything is an emergency.
Here's the part nobody likes to hear. The difference between Marcus and Derek was not intelligence. It was not luck. It was not some secret investment strategy. The only real difference was their savings rate. Marcus saved 15%. Derek saved 0%. That one number, the percentage of your income you do not spend, is the single biggest predictor of whether you'll end up financially free or financially stuck. There's a writer named Morgan Housel who wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. He has a line in there that just lives in my head rent-free. He says, "Wealth is what you don't see. The fancy car in your neighbor's driveway, that's income being spent. The quiet guy down the street in the old pickup truck who never talks about money, he might have $1 million in the bank. You just can't see it. Because wealth, by definition, is money that hasn't been converted into stuff yet." Look, I'm not saying you should never enjoy your money. That's not the point. The point is that every dollar you earn has two possible futures. It can either become a thing, a car, a dinner, a pair of shoes, or it can become a soldier working for you, earning more money while you sleep. And the ratio of soldiers to stuff that you build over your career is what decides whether you end up like Marcus or like Derek. Here's what most people don't realize about this. You don't have to save 50% of your income to win this game. You don't have to live in a shoebox and eat rice and beans every night. The research is pretty clear. If you can consistently save and invest 15 to 20% of your gross income starting in your 20s, you will almost certainly be financially independent by your 60s. That's not hype. That's just compound interest doing what compound interest does. But here's where it gets tricky. Most people try to save whatever's left over at the end of the month, and surprise, there's never anything left over, because humans are wired to spend whatever's in front of them. If you see it, you'll spend it. So here's the actionable part. Here's what you actually do. First thing, pay yourself first. The moment your paycheck hits, a percentage, start with 10 if 15 feels scary, automatically moves into a separate account. Not later, not after bills, immediately. Automate it. Your future wealth shouldn't depend on your willpower on a Tuesday night when you're tired and DoorDash is calling your name. Second thing, know your fixed costs. Your rent, your car, your insurance, your phone. These are the big rocks. Every time you make one of these bigger, you are signing up to be poorer for years. Be extremely careful about increasing any fixed expense. A nicer apartment isn't just $300 a month. It's $300 a month times 12 months times however many years you live there. That's real money. Third thing, when you get a raise, here's the rule. Save half of every raise, all of it if you can. You were already living on the old salary. You don't need the entire raise to maintain your life. Put at least half of it into investments before you even have a chance to get used to it. Fourth thing, track your net worth, not your income. Once a month, open a spend sheet or an app and add up what you own minus what you owe. Watch that number. Obsess over it, because that number tells you the truth about whether you are actually winning or just spinning in place. And fifth, get comfortable being boring. Wealth is boring. It's slow. It's the same thing every month for 20 years. The people who are always chasing the next hot investment, the next side hustle, the next get-rich-quick scheme,
They are almost always broke. The people quietly maxing out their retirement accounts and driving a 10-year-old car are the ones with real money. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. James, this all sounds great, but I genuinely don't have any room in my budget. And look, for some people, that's real. If you're making 30 grand and living in a high cost of living city, yeah, this is harder. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But for most people watching this, the honest truth is there is room. It just doesn't feel like there's room because every dollar has already been assigned a job by your current lifestyle. The fix isn't a bigger paycheck. It's a smaller leak. Here's the part one really want you to sit with. 15 years goes by fast. The Marcus and Derek at the start of this video, they were the same person on day one. Same opportunities, same income, same starting line. The only thing that separated their outcomes was a bunch of tiny, boring, almost invisible decisions made every 2 weeks for 15 years. You are making those decisions right now, today, this week, with every paycheck. And in 15 years, you'll either be the Marcus of your own story or the Derek. Nobody else gets to choose that for you. So here's what I want you to do before you click off this video. Open your banking app. Look at your last paycheck. Ask yourself one simple question. What percentage of that actually got invested? Not spent, not sitting in a checking account, actually invested in something that can grow. If the answer is 0 or close to 0, that's your starting point. Tomorrow morning, set up one automatic transfer, 10%, even 5%. Just start. Because here's the thing about compound interest. The first year feels like absolutely nothing is happening. The 5th year, you start to notice. The 10th year, it gets exciting. And the 20th year, it changes your entire life. If this video helped you or shifted your outlook on how wealth actually gets built, do me a favor. Share it with someone you care about who feels stuck in the income trap. Maybe it helps them the way it's helping you. I'll see you on the next one.